Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the live. It's Maggie. I'm so glad you're here. And this is our weekly date, Fridays, 6 p.m. We want to come in and just chat, just like I do Wednesday chat on IG. I do a chat every Saturday. I am going to do the best I can to keep to the schedule. Hopefully, when I'm traveling, there might be a delay, but I don't have anything scheduled yet. I'm going to start traveling in September. Anyway, I'm Highland. I am thinking throughout the week as to what I need to talk about, and of course, this channel is about training managers and supervisors, and I'm always keeping my finger on the pulse of what's going on because I belong to different Facebook groups. Some are real funny, but this week it kind of dawned on me, not dawned on me, weighed on me that I saw a lot more posts about a lot of nurses saying, I'm burnout, I'm leaving, I'm tendering my resignation, and it just always breaks my heart when a nurse is leaving a job because that nurse did not just at the first, situation just walk out, decide she's going to leave. She tried her best and that it's just something that she just can't do it. So I am just I wanted to talk about this topic today about transitioning, another way to kind of equip you with the skills that you might need to survive in your job. And of course, we know in nursing, one of the good things about nursing is that we have options. We can move vertically, we can move laterally, right? And a lot of people feel that, oh, you know what? Yes, I did go live. Okay, I was like, did I go live? Okay, last week that happened. I was live on Facebook, but not on Restream. Anyway, um, like I said, the nurses can move laterally, and we can change positions. We can even step away. And I was reading an article that says that appears to be the best option. When nurses are just totally burnt out, they've tried different things and it's not working, just that stepping away is usually a good way to just kind of get a fresh perspective, go do something else. Like during COVID, I'm reading that a lot of nurses went into real estate. There are a lot of nurses online talking about selling health products, supplements. Some nurses are doing insurance and investment. A lot of nurses are opening CNA schools and home care agencies. They're becoming entrepreneur. This is these are the skills that if you've been a nurse, you have gathered all these skills that you can package, take with you, and go somewhere else. That's why when I provide training, I tell nurses that go and get as much training as you can. Don't just stick to nursing, do other things. I have a nurse that I know who went into investment. She went to work for one of the big investment firms, and she's doing really well. And she's like, I don't think I could ever do bedside nursing again. I don't think I could do bedside nursing again. Once you've left the bedside, it's difficult to go back to it, especially as you're aging. Your body can't take that stress. But I realize that the burnout that nurses are feeling right now, it's not just physical, it's the mental stress. And that's why I talk a lot about creating culture. And of course, I get the feedback from a lot of the director of nursing, we just don't have enough CNAs, we don't have nurses to do this. I talk about hydration CNA, and this is a reality. I get it. But what I'm saying again, if you don't think outside the box, if you just keep just putting out fires, just keeping up with new mandates, we got new ones now. So you're just going to be putting out fires and the problems are going to continue. Yeah, we can throw money, we can do all kinds of things. And that's what I'm hearing. Yes, today there was something about doing a 4 day scheduling, because they're doing that all over the world now because they're realizing mankind, we are overworked and that we perform better if we work less hours per week. In England, they were going to a 4 day week. The French have always been, they don't want to work hard. They want to work 30 hours, 32 hours. That's all they want to do. But Americans, oh my God, the more we work, the more valuable we are, the more appreciated, more plaques you get and accolades and pizza parties, right? I remember seeing a post where this girl said, "What did they do? Did they bring you pizza?" All right. If you're a nurse manager, don't bring pizza. Try to find something else, okay? Anyway, so today I wanted to focus on how do you transition from being a bedside nurse to like a supervisor or a manager? My course is about training nursing managers and supervisors because trust me, when you get promoted to a position, right? They're going to give you the job description and they're going to tell you all the things that you're responsible for. But they're really not going to tell you how do you relate to your employees? How do you supervise? How do you mentor? How do you balance everything? How do you keep your cool? That is not what your training will be about. That's what I'm trying to teach you because, yes, it's great to know when these reports are due, to do the skin checks and all the stuff that you're responsible for. But when it comes to dealing with these difficult employees and family members and patients, yelling at you and disrespecting you, and there's a dangerous situation in your building, by the time you call in your boss, something could happen. Okay, so I want to talk about how do you prepare yourself while you go into the transition. Okay, so I am going to go over the slide. As you know, if you didn't know, my name is Maggie. I'm a nurse practitioner. I've been doing oncology just for a little bit, gerontology for over 20 years. I love old people. I'm getting to be an old person myself. I am a baby boomer, and of course, I am committed to aging healthily and helping other people age and making things a little easier for those of us who are entering this period of life. Now, the average age of a registered nurse is 52 or 54. So we're getting up there, right? And if we look around, we see that the age of the new breed, if I could use that word, it doesn't sound like a nice word, but the new group of nurses that are graduating, they're very young. And again, your millennials and your Gen Xers, they don't think like we do. So as a manager, you have to understand how to deal with this new generation and not bring your own expectations to the job. You're going to be frustrated because they're not thinking like you. They're not thinking like your cousin, your mom, your dad. These kids do not think like that. So you have to adjust, not them to adjust to you. You adjust to them, right? So, Nurse Training and Advocacy, that's the name of the channel and the company. And what we want to talk about today is from bedside nurse to supervisor or manager, how to transition successfully, right? We do also have a lot of concerns of people who say, well, they put me in this position, but I got no training. I had to learn by myself what the expectations of the jobs were. And there was another post about a nurse saying, I've been a nurse for 2 years and I'm going to be a manager. And what do I need to expect? And we're like, how long do you have? Because it's a momentous job. It's huge because you're going to get it from both sides. You do have your own managers who you report to, and you have your team. They don't report to you, but they're accountable to you. You're supposed to get them to do what they're supposed to do. This is where your leadership skills come into play. Leadership is making someone want to do something they did not want to do. helping them to see the big picture, helping them to understand. So you as a new supervisor or manager, you're going to have a really huge amount of energy because you're going to have to be explaining a lot of things. You're going to have to communicate a lot to your new team. How are your communication skills? Can you really explain something to someone without making them feel guilty, without belittling them, or without making you look like you're the expert? It takes skills, right? How do you listen? Are you an active listener? Do you know how to listen, attentively and listening? Now you're going to have, who's your customer? I have a question in my course that says, who's your customer? It's not just a patient in the bed, right? It's a visitor who come to visit, family or friends, church people, the pastor, the, what do they call them, the chaplain, the housekeeping people, people who deliver the food. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have to deal with all the department because you could say as a nurse, I'm just going to put my bladders on, I'm just going to do my med pass, do my treatment, and I'm out of here. I don't want to hear anything. Well, when you become a manager, a supervisor, that kind of thinking needs to go because you cannot think like that. That is why I have a form that is kind of an assessment for new supervisors and managers. It's got 10 questions on it. And if you go to Nurse Training and Advocacy on YouTube, you're going to see, I'm trying to reference which class it was, but there's a class that's going to show you, it's on there. It asks you some question. Can you supervise people? How do you manage your time? Do you feel like when the time 3 o'clock, it's time for you to go? Are you accountable and responsible? Do you understand that the buck stops here, that you can delegate tasks to some people under you, but you cannot delegate the responsibility? Do you understand that, right? And a couple of the questions initially are like, do you have what it takes? What is your why for accepting this position? And everybody has a different why. Why did I go into management? Why did you go into management? Why do you want to become a head nurse? Why do you want to become a supervisor or manager? Do you have aspiration to become a CNO one time, right? Do you want to manage a whole building? More power to you. If that's what you want to do, this is a trajectory you're on, which is great. But along the way, you have to develop some really knockout skills in order for you to maneuver all the waters, right? So, how to transition successfully? Well, let's try not to be here too long today. What are the top reasons for people to transition? That means you're going from bedside nurse, you want to become a charge nurse. In the hospital, they have charge nurses. We don't have that in long term care. We can afford all these positions. But is it burnout? In burnout, I think I have another class where we define burnout. This is a state of total exhaustion that affects you physically, mentally, and it affects your passion for your job. Not only do you have the physical symptoms of exhaustion when you can't sleep, you have body aches, you got palpitations, you have headaches, you have epigastric discomfort, you have nausea, you have weird psychosomatic symptoms, and then it affects your relationship to your family members. You're short tempered with your spouse. Your maid, they call you a bee without you having, that certain things every month. But burnout just affects everything. It's like you just don't care anymore. And that's when nurses need to know when it's time to step away, right? Once you start losing your empathy for your nurses and for your patients, it's time to step away. And it's okay. It's okay to take some time off and say, you know what? I need to get away from this for a while. The good thing is that you have options. Yes, you might worry about benefits, right? Because if you the income earner in your family and the insurance and everything is under you, it's going to be difficult. And can you imagine right now going to your boss and say, I need a leave of absence? How do you think that's going to go over? And then it may not be because they don't care. They just can't afford to let you go because there's nobody to replace you. But at the same time, is that a reason for you to keep working under the conditions where you feel physically and mentally unequipped, ill equipped to do it? You know what I'm saying? So sometimes people leave jobs because of that, because your boss denies a vacation. They, of course, if you say, I'm tired, they're gonna say, well, take a day off here and come back. But you need a lot longer than one day to recover from burnout, okay? Because it's like you're going to regenerate. You're gonna have to go away, and just kind of go to the beach and stay there and get massages, drink coconut water, sleep, for hours on end. Your body needs to recharge and rebuild itself. Those cells, all that cortisol you have going through your system, you got to wash it off in order for you to get back to a state of health. This is important. This is your life. You can have a heart attack or a stroke and all kinds of craziness. I'm trying to scare you or anything, but you and I know what stress can do to the body. A constant spew of cortisol is damaging to the body, period. So burnout, boredom. It could be that you say, I've been doing this for so long. I'm just so tired of it. I'm bored. I need to do something else. And it's okay to do that. So if you say, well, you know what, I'm going to go and I'm going to apply for this supervisor position, even though it is a reason, but is it a valid reason for you to move into a supervision? Because it's a different ball game from being a nurse where you're responsible for your patient to being a supervisor where you're responsible for a building, a charge nurse, your whole unit. If that kind of responsibility scares you, keep your job. Move laterally. Laterally mean you can go to another facility. You can go from long-term care to a hospital. Some people leave long-term care to go to urgent care. Some people go to dermatology, and some are doing these skin. What do they call that? They have a name for it where they train you to do Botox and other thing. I don't like needles, so I don't think I could do that. But you can move laterally, right? Because being a supervisor, this is not my course you're taking, but it's a whole different level of responsibility. Okay. um Promotion, maybe your manager or somebody in your facility, they look at you and you have the skills, they see that you're responsible, you've done charge, and the patients love you and they offer you this position. Even though you should feel honored that they thought about you, you need to ask yourself that question. Do I have what it takes? Take that self assessment exam. No, exam. The self assessment and see how you score. I think we said if you do 8 to 10 correctly, yes, you're good. If you do like 6 to 8 questions right, we can work with it. But if you score like less than 5 out of 10, I say keep your job. Keep your job, because it will be really hard for you to get up there to where you're going to develop all these skills so you can deal with all these difficult people and have that level of responsibility. And there is no shame in the game to say, you know what, now that I understand myself better, I don't think I want this job. And it's okay. It's not for everybody. Not everybody is equipped to manage people. This is one of the most difficult jobs that you're going to have. People are complex. They come with in all shades, not just skin color, but personality, culture, the way they think. And then now you have baby boomers versus millennials, and they don't think like that. You have to become a student and learn all that and learn how to navigate and adjust. It's not for them to adjust to you. I said that before. Okay? So, a promotion is great. And many times, managers offer you a position not because they want because they identify that you have all the skills are necessary. Because I'm talking about soft skills. I call myself the soft skills queen because people don't talk about those skills. They talk about, can you do this? Do you know the regs? Can you do that? And that's wonderful to know the regs, right? But to me personally, that's not the most important thing you need to know, because you do have people who keep you accountable, right? That's why you have MDS and all these, and QI in the hospital. Okay. You need to have some level of an understanding. You don't need to be an expert, but you do need to be an expert in how you manage people. Your people skills need to be on point. Your ability to manage stress should be on point. Your ability to strategize and prioritize, right? When you're looking at patients. Okay. It could be personal reasons, right? Maybe you had a change in your family structure. Maybe you're moving, right? Um, Maybe your kids at a stage where you need to a certain schedule. I know when my kids were little, I worked Baylor. I worked Saturday and Sunday so I could be home with my kids. I wasn't a manager. Even if they offered me a manager job, I couldn't do it because my family situation did not allow it, right? And women, we're just very good at balancing all this stuff. We're just good at it. Self, it could be you say, you know what, i I have my eye on, this is where I want to go, and this manager position is just a stepping stone to that. Go for it. If that's what you want to do, go for it. Just know what you're getting yourself into. Okay. Know your why. Okay, know your why. I think I've talked about that a lot. And also, before you say yes, before you say, oh my God, I'm so excited, I'm going to make $1 more an hour, this is so great, it's going to be worth it. When you're in the throes of the stress, they're calling you all the time, and you have to go in when the nurses don't show up, because let's face it, as a manager, supervisor, if the unit is short, I say you need to go in and help your staff. After you've tried all the avenues and couldn't find anybody, and the agency didn't show up, a lot of that going on. And that's why our DONs and managers are burning out too, because how much covering can you do and still do your job? It's impossible, right? Have you considered all the pros and cons? Talk to your family. What do they think? Ask for feedback. Do you think I can do it? There's nothing wrong with asking your mate. Do you think I have what it takes to manage a group of however many staff members you're going to have under you? Do you think I'm going to be okay mentoring and disciplining someone? Some people are afraid to address the difficult situation and to tell an employee that in a way that is not negative and accusatory and demeaning, to get that person to see why their behavior is a concern and what they need to do to change it. Do you ask your mate, ask your best friend? There's nothing wrong with that. It's like when you have a boyfriend, you want them to be around your family and your friends so they can give you feedback. And if they give it to you, listen. You know how a lot of time you ask for advice but you don't really want it? That's not good. If you ask for it, listen. Because if somebody loves you, they'll tell you the truth. Okay? Are you mentally, physically fit for the job? Like I say, if you need to get out at 3:15 every day, this is not the job for you, because you're probably going to stay over a few times. You're probably going to go in on the weekends. They have extra days when the state is in the building. They're going to call you in to do this and that. If that bothers you to no end, you need to reconsider. If you're very rigid in how you do things, you need to reconsider. If you're not flexible, you need to consider. If you get bent out of shape because somebody says something that is hurtful, you need to reconsider. Or do you just blow a gasket if something is out of order and somebody didn't do what they're supposed to do? You need to reconsider. How is your support system? I was talking to a nurse the other day who tells me she's going to open a home care agency. I had a home care agency for 13 years, and then I'm talking to her. She wanted some advice, and then she's like, "Oh my God." And I was telling her, I said, sometimes your staff doesn't show up and you got to go in. I've had to go do an 11 to 7 with a dementia patient because the responsibility rests with you. And she's like, oh my God. And her eyes went crazy. And she's like, I'm a single parent. And she had like a little baby. And I'm like, you might want to reconsider this. Being a business owner is not a 9 to 5 job, especially in healthcare. If you open a pizza place, you have hours where you open and close. That's one thing. This job that we do is not like that. Okay. So, how's your support system? Do you have someone you can depend on? When I was starting my first business in the 90s, one other thing when I took my own self assessment was, do you have a support system? Do you have a mean of supporting yourself for however many months it takes for you to make a profit? Those are very important questions. Some people don't understand that. And that's why most small businesses fail because they do not understand the process. Okay. Are you running away from the rigors of bedside nursing? I was talking to some nurses and I told them, when you're leaving nursing, bedside nursing, you say, oh, I'm going to become a nurse practitioner. It's so easy. Really? Have you spoken to those nurse practitioners who work in the doctor's office and primary care office? When they tell you they have to see 25, 30 patients a day, do all their notes, come early, review labs, call families, and that you get chewed out. And then they have to do calls. Huh, you think it's easy? Yeah, they make a little bit more money, not that much more. We don't make that much more money. Some nurses make more money than us. Yes. You got to think through all these things and find out what your priorities are. Okay? Because running away from bedside nursing to go into management, I don't know that's a valid reason to do it. It's not going to be a walk in the park. So, how about talking to somebody, maybe not in your facility, who's doing the job? Say, okay, let me have it straight. Lay it on me. Just tell me what does that entail. Don't go in blindly and then 30, a month later you're quitting because you didn't know you were supposed to do this, 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 this. Go talk to someone who's been doing it, and they'll tell you the truth. A lot of them, just like in nursing, you just kind of evolve. You've survived it. I'm talking to my students when I'm teaching them. I said the first 6 months as a brand new nurse is going to be really tough. And you're going to be tempted to quit. But I'm telling you to prepare for it. What you need to do, give yourself some grace, find your resources, find a mentor, right? You can find a mentor with this job as well. Okay. Scenario number one. So there are two scenarios when you move into a position like that. Whether you were promoted from within, you decided to apply for a position that was open in your facility or your hospital system, right? So it's an internal promotion. You know the building, you know the people, hopefully, you know the staff, okay? So now you're moving from with your buddies right here, you're moving up here. Do you think that's going to be a difference? Mm. I talk about two scenarios. The scenario, it's your facility that you're familiar with. The other scenario is, for example, like you move into to a new state and you go in to apply for a position in a new facility. Now, if I was a brand new nurse, I wouldn't go to another facility in another state and apply for management. I wouldn't do that. I probably would want to start as a nurse, floor nurse, get my bearing, understand how things are done because every facility is different. Every building has its own flavor, its own personality, and you need to learn to know those, right? So you have two different scenarios. So, for example, the first one, it's your facility. How do you think it's gonna go when your buddies that you smoke with, you hang out with, you go to lunch with, now you're the supervisor and you saying, "Hey, ladies and gentlemen, I expect this, 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 this." How do you think that's gonna go over? You think it's gonna be smooth? They're gonna say, "Oh my God, we're so happy for you! Congratulations!" Well, the majority of them will. Some won't. There's a little thing called envy. There's a little thing called jealousy, and you have to expect it. You see, my philosophy is If I expect that you're going to show yourself, I'm prepared for your attitude. I'm prepared for what you're going to bring. But if it hits me like a ton of brick, oh my God, I didn't see that coming, it's really a lot harder for you to deal with. But when you say, I expected that, I'm ready for you, that's showing maturity. That's showing insight. That's showing that you've thought things through. Expect some envy, some resentment. Maybe they'll get over it in a little bit. Maybe they won't. Not everybody's going to love that all of a sudden now you're a supervisor. Not everybody's going to rejoice that you're getting a little bit more money now than them. Or they think, oh, you think you're all that. Now you're going to tell us this and this and that. You're going to have some of that. Now, if it becomes out of control, then you're going to have to address it. Understand that mankind is mankind. They just wretched, a lot of them. Not all of them, a lot of them. Okay? Your old colleagues now are under your supervision. I say that again, you have to expect it, but you're gonna have to have the conversation that says, Jane, we've worked really well together. And if Jane is a good nurse, you're going to say, oh, I'm just gonna expect that you're gonna be there to help me out with this and that, and we're gonna go do it. But if Jane is kind of lazy or she's kind of a so-so nurse, then you're gonna have a talk with Jane and say, Jane, they hired me for this position. And listen, I'm going to help you if you need help. Let me know. But those quarterlies have to be done, the skin checks have to be done, and I'm going to be checking. So help me out here, right? You have to address everybody where they're at. You can't, my thing is, you can't let things run and just let everybody do whatever. So if that's what you do, why are you there? They hire you to make sure that things are done. This is what the supervisor does. And in my course, I talk about staying in your lane. That means get that job description, read it through because you're going to sign off. That means you agree that you're going to do all this, stuff. So therefore, if you have your binder, keep that job description so you know what you're responsible for. The reason you want to do that too is that your manager, your DON or whatever, they don't just ask you to do your job, but a lot of times they're very, really good delegators. That means they're giving you all this extra stuff to do. And you're going to have to find a way to stand on your own and say, I have my job here. I have all these to do. If within limits, okay? You don't want to say no to your DON right away. But if it becomes overwhelming, being assertive is also a skill of being a leader, and you have to know how to go about it, right? I'm telling you, it's just dealing with people. That's the hardest thing. So, find out your resources, get your job description, sit down with your manager, DON, and say, please explain to me exactly what you expect me to do, right? So that there is no surprise, there are no surprises. You're not gonna get blindsided. Oh, I didn't know that. Mm-mm. Okay. And that's where talking to somebody who's been doing it comes in handy. You're gonna say, okay, what do they expect you to do? Find out. Find out. Be self-directed means you don't want somebody to hold your hand all the time. You need to be able to make decisions on your own. You need to be able to find information for yourself, especially nowadays where people are short, their mind is all jumbo, they're short tempered. They don't have time to spoon feed you. They want you to say, okay, let me go into that SharePoint and find out what the policy for this is. You just need guidance. But don't expect somebody to, oh, can you print it for me? Print it for yourself. Call not the regional, but call your sister facilities. Find somebody who is in another building and say, okay, how do you do this? That's not stepping over. That's trying to find your resources. In any building, you need to know where to find information so you can do your job better. Connect with your team. I have a whole chapter on connection, and there are so many things you can do by connection. Connecting means that you get to know your team. Now, if it's your building, you already know. a lot of the people that are working on your unit, on your team. But if it's a new building, it's going to take you time to get to know Susie and Jim and Mary and all of them. And how do you get to know them? By spending time with them. Go sit with them in the dining room when they're eating. When they had let their hair down, they're talking about their family, their life, dislike, what they do on the weekend. That's how you get to know people, right? So you need to connect, and then you need to be intentional. When you working your shift, they need to know that you're there. You need to be visible, right? You need to go, how's it going? What's happening? How was your shift? How are your patients? Do you have any concern? What can I do to help you? That goes a long way in letting your team know that you are present, you care for them. That's how you connect. Birthdays, potluck, whatever it is, you need to create a I'm big on culture. You guys know that. You got to create a culture where your team feel cared for. They need to feel like you care about them. And you can't pretend to care. If you just saying words, they'll see right through you. Don't be fake. Don't be fake because they'll be talking about you. They'll talk about you anyway, right? But it's like they'll just like, okay, I know I do my job, so let the tongue wag. That's okay. I'm good. I'm cool. That doesn't bother me one bit. Not this girl here. Connect with your team. Allow team members to get used to the new you. Oh, that's a big one. Oh, I didn't put the new in there, but I meant the new you. That means when you get this new position, as you get introduced and you start working, you kind of feel your way to see how everybody's feeling, right? This one's okay, but that one not so much. This one is really hateful. How are you going to address it? Understand, you got to give them time to get used to you. They're going to have to get, but if you're consistent and you care and you're supportive and you're helpful, you're going to break them down slowly. Okay? Now, there are some that are beyond. There's always at least one, right? But you got to expect that. If they take good care of their patients, but they're just kind of rough around the edges, you're not going to smooth them over. No. But you're going to have to learn to work with them unless they're incompetent and they can't do the job. Okay. So be consistent. Let them know what you expect. Say, right now, hey, listen, I used to do this over here, but right now the DON wants me to do this and that. So I need your help to help me to do that, right? I'm going to be writing my report. I need you to tell me this. Oh, you had that fall. I need to make sure you complete your documentation. Are you doing those neuro checks? Neuro checks are important, right? We know about that case. So this is your responsibility to make sure it gets done. That's why as a supervisor, you have to be walking around. As a manager, you got to ask questions. You have to be present. If you're a manager, is your door, do you have an open door policy? Can they come talk to you if they have an issue? Yes. You may have times where you really, sometimes it gets out of control. I know that. So you may have time where you have to put a sign saying, do not disturb, I'm in a meeting or whatever. But they need to know that at some point you are available to them, right? Don't be one of those managers who work on the unit and just go straight to your office. You don't make eye contact with anybody. You don't talk to anybody. I've seen it. It stinks. Don't do that. Okay? Assert yourself. Yes. Tell them, let them know what your new position is, what your role is, what their role is, what your expectations are. Be firm. Treat everybody the same. Don't have like this DON who goes to happy hour with this particular nurse, and we're like, if she doesn't do her work, who's going to do anything? No. Okay. So you gotta have to maintain that balance. That yes, we're colleagues, but I'm the supervisor. So if I'm all into your business and underneath your arm, and it's really hard for you to go to that person and ask him to do something, right? So you kind of maneuver that situation very carefully. You can still be friends, but they need to know that when I'm at work, I'm the supervisor and I have responsibilities and I need your help. If you make it personal, that's a little skill that I learned a long time ago. When you want somebody to do something for you, if you go to that person and you make it personal and you say, you know what, I need your help. You've been doing such a great job and I so appreciate it. But listen, I need your help with this. It's really hard for somebody to refuse you categorically if you say, it will help me. Make it personal. Don't say, oh, the DON said, right? That is not a good tagline. You need to say, it would help me out so much, make my job easier if you would help me do that. Most people will go for it. Try it. Okay? Avoid the clicks. You say, well, I only sit over here with this little group. Or I don't talk to the CNAs over there. Like I told you, I went to a facility and the CNA is like, oh, you're sitting here? The nurses sit over there to have lunch. I'm like, is it okay if I sit here? Like nurses and CNAs don't mingle? Says who? I don't get that. I don't get that. Okay? So I have a class called the 20 Habits of Highly Successful Supervisor. And again, it's on the channel, on the YouTube channel. You have access to it. Regardless, did I do number two? Okay, I think I missed one. Scenario number one. Where's scenario number two? Oh, I think I missed one. Huh. Well, I'm so sorry. I pretty much know that I did a number two. Scenario number two would be when you move into a new area, right? Oh my goodness, my battery's low. If you move into a new area, if the Facebook goes off, it's gonna be on the YouTube. I apologize. So scenario number two means you're gonna have to learn the building. You're gonna have to know the people. So it's gonna take you longer to find your way. Again, get that new job description. Talk to your DON or your manager. Know exactly what your expectations are. All the other soft skills we talked about, communication, connecting, that's the same, but it's just that it's going to take you a little bit longer and you have to expect that. Be consistent. So like it says here, regardless of your trajectory, whether you were promoted from within your facility, or whether you go into a new facility in a new area, a supervisory position requires supervisor and manager training. That's what I say. But people might think it's self serving. But I know that if I were a brand new nurse going into a management position, I would love, to get some training. And my supervisor course is just right for you. So, soft skill development. Again, the things I talk about are not things about learning how to use PCC, point click care, and doing reports and all that. Mm-mm. It goes beyond that. It's more of the human connection, right? Laser focus on your people's skills. You never there. We can always improve and learn, right? Be accountable, responsible. The buck stops here. So if you had three falls, you can't go the next day and say, "Well, I told them to do their documentation." No, it's your job to make sure it's done. So you be walking around, making rounds, and go to the unit and say, "I need that by this time. I need this by this time. Do you need any help?" You know what I'm saying? You got to make sure it's done. So you can delegate the task, but not the responsibility. Get that? Okay. Connect with your staff. I talk about that. Be open and available. Lend a hand. If you see a light, answer it. If there is a complaint, handle it, right? If they have 3, 4 admissions, jump in there and help. Oh my God. And then remember that. Be serious about balance and your self care. Don't work yourself to death. You got to death. Death. You have to know when to say no. If you work your shift and it's your time to be home, it's your time to be home. I'm telling you. If you guys don't do that, that's how you get burnout. And they shame you, they make you feel like you don't care. Don't worry about it. Just take your time off, okay? Exercise, eat right, drink. Hang in there. It will take time. That's the thing. Rome was not built in one day. It takes time for you to learn people. It takes time to understand what makes them tick. It makes time for you to feel how to know how to approach them to get them to do something that you want them to do, right? So it takes time to build connections. It's not going to happen in a week, in 2 weeks. I can't tell you how long it will take, but progress is going to be slow and steady. But you need to be steady. Don't change, don't deviate, don't give in, don't give out. Know why you took this position and commit to being successful at it. Because if you hang in that position, you're going to become so good. Your patients are going to love it. Your nurses are going to talk about it. I'm telling you, even though they might say, they might grumble when you ask them to do something. I remember this girl. She's a nurse. She got into like a verbal spat with the CNA. And it was like in the hall, family members were watching. And I'm like, please, ladies, let's go over here. So I talked to them separately. And they told me the story. And I told them, I gave feedback. And I'm like, no, I feel you should have done this and this and that. No, blah, blah, blah. And then the next day, the nurse was like, she was just having a fit. And the next day she said, well, Miss Maggie, I have to tell you, you were straight, but you were fair. I didn't play favorite. Just because you're a nurse, I'm not going to say you were right and the saying it was wrong automatically. No. There were things on both sides that could improve. So you have to be able to do that. Be fair, be consistent, and be kind. But they need to know the buck stops here. They'll say, oh, Miss Maggie doesn't play. I don't play because when we have to do things, things need to get done. They need to get done. You're not leaving until I get that fall assessment done. You're not leaving until your admission is done. Yes, I'm going to put the meds in for you. Yes, I'm going to help. But when it comes to finishing your assessment, it's on you. I can't finish it for you. Legally, I did not assess this patient, so you're responsible. Okay? It takes time. So I just wanted to talk about that. I hope you got something out of it to understand that getting a promotion, moving into a management position, it's great. There is so much growth and validity, and it validates who you are and your skills and your growth as a human being, as a person, right? So just invest in becoming the best that you can be, because it's going to take a lot of energy, a lot of your time, but it's so rewarding to just see your team performing and your patients getting better. And like this patient said to me, he said, are you working today? Oh, we feel safe when you're here. Oh, my heart. For a patient to say they feel safe because I'm in the building, this is how your team should feel when you're working. They feel supported, they know you got their back. Okay? Take care of yourself. Take care of your family. And I thank you for watching, Lynn. I see you're still here. I appreciate you watching, and you're here every single week. So I appreciate that. Does anybody have any question? You can email me. Oh, I didn't put my email on here. It's Maggie Lazar, Lazarre at Gmail. If anybody has any question, or you can go on the YouTube channel and send me a message. Alrighty. Okay. Thank you so much. And you all have a great weekend. It did not storm today, so we are grateful. Stay hydrated and stay cool. Au revoir. Bye. Emily.